How have I ended up doing a weekly news show? I honestly I don't understand. Anyway, welcome back to Farm Theory News. Coming up in today's episode, Labour's farm inheritance tax plans goes off the rails, farm incomes are down across the board for 2023-24, bovine TB in Northern Ireland hits a record high, and COP29 has concluded, the event where 70,000 delegates flew there to chat about climate change. The irony is unbelievable. Plus, why cancelling your BBC licence fee might be the most sensible thing you do this week. Anyway, let's get started. Farming has got very political, and Farm Theory News reflects that. So let's attack Labour once more over their botched farm inheritance tax plan. It's now pretty clear that the Treasury botched the numbers on how many farms would be affected, and worse, the rich landowners who they set out to target seem to be able to get round this tax change. And when you consider that the DEFRA Secretary was only informed of this change 24 hours before the budget was announced, it's no wonder they made such a mess of it. I listened to a podcast called Political Currency with George Osborne, who is a former Chancellor of the UK, and some of the things he said in that were very revealing. He revealed that similar proposals to abolish or change agricultural property relief came across his desk several times as Chancellor. But George Osborne had the sense to drop them because it was a politically very difficult issue, and he knew that it would provoke a reaction from farmers. And this provides a really good lesson for us as an industry that we need to make sure that policies that negatively affect us are very politically difficult. So even if the Chancellor refuses to change on agricultural property relief, I think the backlash from farmers will still have a positive impact if she ever goes to try something similar again. And George Osborne also provided some insight into why she might not be forced into changing this tax like he was with the pastry tax. George Osborne said that he reversed course on the pastry tax due to the fear of losing the budget vote. And since Rachel Teeves has such a huge majority in Parliament, she does not have to worry about losing the budget vote. George Osborne's comments on the Political Currency podcast concluded by saying that this was a badly thought through policy, it was badly implemented, but Rachel Teeves was unlikely to overturn it because of that lack of political pressure, because Labour has such a big majority. Don't shoot the messenger, I'm just repeating what George said. The whole farm tax inheritance thing has really revealed that some people genuinely believe that farmers are rich. So our next story goes a long way to dispelling that inaccuracy. In 2023-24, farm incomes took a nosedive. Subsidy cuts, rising costs, weak global markets and unpredictable weather have all left farm finances in tatters. Cereal farms seen their income fall by 73%, closely followed by dairy farms which seen an income drop of 68%. The most shocking figure from this report from DEFRA is that the average farm income is just £17,300 per year. Yes, 17,300. At the current minimum wage, that is less than a part-time job. Next up, we have a very depressing topic, and that is TB in Northern Ireland. For the month ending September, TB is at an all-time record high, with 1.16% of all animals tested for TB in Northern Ireland being positive. This story is also very bad news for me personally, since we are TB testing tomorrow. We are currently closed because of one animal coming back positive, and based on the average for Northern Ireland, I should expect 4 to 5 animals coming back positive with TB tomorrow. This could end up being a very bad week for me. But it's a good week for all of you because you get Farm Theory News a day early. To try and address this spiralling catastrophe which is befalling Northern Ireland agriculture, our minister has decided to rule out wildlife intervention and instead focus on farm inspections and TB compensation cuts. Because compensation cuts are going to fix the issue. Oh my days, where do they get this stuff? Thankfully for all of us, some of our other politicians that actually might possess the ability to objectively read some research have passed a motion in Stormont which includes wildlife intervention measures. The motion outlines a strategy of how the government is going to deal with TB going forward. And in case anyone was in any doubts as to whether wildlife intervention was a critical tool out of many in the fight against TB, let me give you some research. In GB, there was industry-led culling between 2013 and 2017, and a study which was analysing the outcomes revealed a 66% reduction in the incidence of bovine TB in Gloucestershire and a 37% reduction in bovine TB in Somerset. And that was just after 4 years of wildlife intervention. A peer-reviewed study published in Nature last year revealed a 56% reduction in bovine TB incidence over 52 areas. And finally, a study from Ireland. This study involved intensive badger culling and reported a significant drop in bovine TB. There is so much research which says that you have to have wildlife intervention in the toolbox to reduce TB incidence. This is not me saying it, this is the world's research saying it. So for an agricultural minister who is in charge of one of the worst areas in the world for TB, to rule out wildlife intervention on personal grounds is mind-boggling. The world stresses me out at the minute. Everyone just seems to have went cuckoo. Anyway, speaking of cuckoo, on to our next news story, which is COP29. This literally reinforces my point that the world has gone mad. As we discussed last week in Farm Theory News, COP29 was held in the wonderful city of Azerbaijan. Country, not city. Baku was the city. Almost 71,000 delegates attended COP29, with a staggering 67,000 of them deciding to travel there in person. Imagine flying 5,000 miles to a climate conference. If they really believed in the climate crisis, they would have all taken the train. The UK delegation alone consisted of 470 delegates. 470 people flying 5,000 miles round trip to talk about climate change. The big news out of COP29 for the citizens of the UK was that our idiotic government has committed to more climate targets. We were already committed to a 68% reduction by 2030, but they have now set a new goal of an 81% reduction in carbon emissions on 1990 levels for 2035. What does this goal mean in reality? Well, to be honest, probably very little. Other than some positive headlines for the Labour government, which they badly need at the minute, it really will not make much difference. Why will it not make much difference? Well, I am going to confidently predict that after this parliament, the Labour government will not be in charge. They have made such a mess already. It is fascinating to watch. There was other announcements from COP29, especially around carbon credits and how they are going to shaft all of us farmers even further with the climate agenda, but I'll save that for a separate episode. I don't want to depress you all too much. Now, where's my script? I've lost my script. Where's my script? Where'd it go? Sorry, bear with me, we're having technical difficulties. There we go, found it. Our final news story this week is why you should cancel your BBC licence fee. This story came out of the news that 500,000 people in the UK have cancelled their propaganda tax in the last year. And here's why you might be able to join them without breaking the law. You only need a BBC licence fee if you watch or record live TV or you use the iPlayer. And I don't know about all of you, but I cannot remember the last time I watched live TV. We genuinely don't have an aerial in our house or a satellite dish anymore. Everything we watch is through the internet. It is therefore rather ironic that I have in fact paid my licence fee, but I promise I will cancel it. We'll take a tangent and I'll explain how I ended up paying my BBC propaganda tax. So obviously, like anyone with a brain, I hadn't paid it for 18 months. And finally, one dark winter's evening, a man showed up at my door about a year ago. And I'll be honest, he was a lovely man. He was just doing his job. I didn't want to argue with him. So I just paid the tax. But that man was actually not a nice man. He was a very sneaky man, because he did not just take a one-off fee, he set me up on direct debit. I still to this day have no idea how he done it, but he did. So a year after I'd paid the BBC tax, it was automatically taken out of my account. So even though I literally have no way to watch live TV, I ended up paying my BBC propaganda license fee. It's actually ridiculous. I just haven't got around to cancelling yet. I promise I will. If you need any more convincing as to why you should cancel your BBC license fee, the BBC is not objective news. Arguably, they're even more biased than FarmTheory news. And that's an achievement. For example, BBC Verify, which is their fact-checking service, used a Labour activist to try and justify the government's figures around the farm inheritance tax. The BBC constantly pushes anti-farming nonsense like the muck map or how the UK is coming down with mega farms. And when they don't want to report on something, they just totally ignore it. Currently, there is a petition which has gained over 2 million signatures in a little over a day, calling for a general election, and it is absolutely nowhere to be found on the BBC website. This petition is a record-breaking petition. Even the Times of India are reporting on it. So you would think that the BBC would. Even if you go into their politics section, there is nothing. Finally, we will end this week's episode of FarmTheory News with an announcement. I am going to start a book club. I said it's a book club. And the first thing we're going to read in this new book club is this: How to Make Friends and Start a Coup. To be clear, this is totally unrelated to all of the news stories we've just chatted about. Oh my days. In all seriousness, how are we going to survive another 4.5 years of this Labour government? Like, I genuinely don't know the answer to that. The world's gone mad. Anyway, thank you all so much for watching once again. If you enjoyed this video, please do give it a like. If you would like to join my book club, hit that subscribe button. That's essentially you joining. And any comments, stick them down below. I really do enjoy them. Until next time, keep farming and keep surviving.